Going live, kicking this off with a clip from Michael Moore, and we'll get started, do the sound check. Let's get it. I should have reset my internet modem, shoot, but I'll figure it out. Let's start off with Michael Moore. Let me know if you have lag issues or something like that.
Donald Trump came to the Detroit Economic Club and stood there in front of the Ford Motor executives and said, if you close these factories as you're planning to do in Detroit and build them in Mexico, I'm going to put a 35% tariff on those cars when you send them back, and nobody's going to buy them. It was an amazing thing to see. No politician, Republican or Democrat, had ever said anything like that to these executives. And it was music to the ears of people in Michigan and Ohio and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, the Brexit states. You live here in Ohio, you know what I'm talking about. Whether Trump means it or not is kind of irrelevant because he's saying the things to people who are hurting. And it's why every beaten down, nameless, forgotten working stiff who used to be part of what was called the middle class loves Trump. He is the human Molotov cocktail that they've been waiting for. The human hand grenade that they can legally throw into the system that stole their lives from them. And on November 8th, Election Day, although they lost their jobs, although they've been foreclosed on by the bank, next came the divorce, and now the wife and kids are gone, the car's been repoed, they haven't had a real vacation in years, they're stuck with the shitty Obamacare bronze plan where you can't even get a fucking Percocet. They've essentially lost everything they had, except one thing. The one thing that doesn't cost them a cent and is guaranteed to them by the American Constitution, the right to vote. They might be penniless, they might be homeless, they might be fucked over and fucked up. It doesn't matter because it's equalized on that day. A millionaire has the same number of votes as the person without a job, one. And there's more of the former middle class than there are in the millionaire class. So on November 8th, the dispossessed will walk into the voting booth, be handed a ballot, close the curtain, and take that lever, or felt pen or touchscreen, and put a big fucking X in the box by the name of the man who has threatened to upend and overturn the very system that has ruined their lives. Donald J. Trump. They see that the elites who ruined their lives hate Trump. Corporate America hates Trump. Wall Street hates Trump. The career politicians hate Trump. The media hates Trump after they loved him and created him and now hate him. Thank you, media. The enemy of my enemy is who I'm voting for on November 8th. Yes, on November 8th, you, Joe Blow, Steve Blow, Bob Blow, Billy Bob Blow, all the blows get to go and blow up the whole goddamn system because it's your right. Trump's election is going to be the biggest fuck you ever recorded in human history. And it will feel good. For a day. Yeah, maybe a week. Possibly a month. And then, like the Brits, who wanted to send a message, so they voted to leave Europe, only to find out that if you vote to leave Europe, you actually have to leave Europe. And now they regret it. All the Ohioans, Pennsylvanians, Michiganders, and Wisconsinites of Middle England, right? They all voted to leave, and now they regret it, and over 4 million of them have signed a petition to have a do-over. They want another election. It ain't going to happen because you use the ballot as an anger management tool. And now you're fucked. And the rest of Europe, they're like, bye, Felicia. So when the rightfully angry people of Ohio and Michigan and Pennsylvania and Wisconsin find out after a few months in office that President Trump wasn't going to do a damn thing for them, it'll be too late to do anything about it. But I get it. You wanted to send a message. You had righteous anger and justifiable anger. Well, message sent. Good night, America. You've just elected the last president of the United States.
It was an amazing speech. Obviously, I don't agree with it all, but the heart of it was the Molotov cocktail comment. This is not about Donald Trump. We're talking about the indictment now. Thank you for stopping by, Troy Mafia. This is, we have to start there. A lot of people don't understand this. They just don't. Libertarians are lost. They have no idea what's going on. A lot of libertarians that I'm seeing that are confused about what's happening. What happened is Donald Trump came down the escalator and disaffected, disenfranchised, disappointed, upset Americans of all different shapes, forms, political backgrounds, colors, said, Donald Trump is the right one at this moment to go to D.C. and to tell you all to F off. That's what happened. And this is the retaliation. The experiment is over. It doesn't mean that's a negative thing. That doesn't mean to be demoralized. No experiment lasts forever. Where do you do that? Where do they do that at? I'm talking about the great experiment that is, or was, in my opinion, at this point, America. That's how serious, that's the territory we're in right now. This didn't come magically. We've had 2 impeachments, both ridiculous. It's been a progression leading us to this point. This indictment in New York, this is the first of many to come. This is probably the lightest, weakest of they're all weak, but this is the most frivolous of them all. Leading up to, you think that Mr. Alvin Bragg is going to press charges against Trump, get the fingerprint, all that, mugshot, and Merrick Garland's not going to do anything? You think that's going to fly? We're just beginning. This is just the appetizer. And we don't have the right energy in our country. I don't know what's going on. The energy is just not in a good place. There's not our country was founded on defiance. I see no defiance from anybody. George Washington wrote a letter in 1790. I'm going to go back to just to talk about where the country was at that time in his mind. This is obviously this is about 9 years before he died. He was one of the older of the founding fathers. He was about 44, I believe, at the time. You had 20, one of them was 18, some of them were 20, had some in the thing. Jefferson was in his 30s. And at that time, to start this great experiment, they were under the rule of Great Britain. And they told Great Britain, your laws don't align with our morals. So this is not going to be a family-friendly show. So the show is not family-friendly at all. They said, your laws don't match up with our morals, so go fuck yourself. That's what they told Great Britain. The most powerful military at the time. Their navy was unparalleled at the time. It was basically a mission to unlive themselves. Why? Because their morals There are no morals that they had founded through God that man can overrule. That's why. And that's how the great experiment started. And that's the only way the great experiment will continue. It's lasted, they set the landscape. It's lasted for almost 250 years. I think they did a solid job. Something that had never been done before. But George Washington, in this letter to, I'm not even familiar with who Catherine Sawbridge is. She was some historian. They have a little bit of a detail down here, a historian. But that's not the point. The point is this part here where George Washington says, I have a consciousness that nothing short of an absolute conviction of duty could ever have brought me upon the scenes of public life again. The establishment of our new government seemed to be the last great experiment for promoting human happiness by reasonable compact in civil society. It was to be, in the first instance, in a considerable degree, a government of accommodation as well as a government of laws. And what they did with this experiment was said, we can get a bunch of people, we can promote free speech, we can promote independence, we can support First Amendment, we can support your right to speak, your right to speak against the government. We won't have a king. We're going to do this a different way, on a scale that's never been done before, an experiment that had never happened before, to my knowledge, in the history of the world, not in the way that they did it. And they looked at the king and they spat in his face. They didn't want any beef. They just said, we're gonna go and do our own thing. Your laws, your taxation, your beliefs, your Puritan religion doesn't belong with us. We don't like that anymore. If you want to practice that, that's fine, but we're not here to tell people what religion to practice. That's how it was founded. That was the first thing they said. And they said, go F yourself. We're going to do our own thing. Out of difficult times something anew can be built. And we're at that time now. We are at the time where we should not be looking at the Constitution as something as a boundary. I didn't take us here. You didn't take us here. There's a bunch of people. The Time magazine called them a cabal of people that took us here. And then we need to take that, and with that, understand there's a new religion in town, and it's time to start something anew. That's the big takeaway from this whole indictment. We have seen a lot of firsts in regarding President Trump. At what time are we going to see a response to any of these firsts? The 2 impeachments, the J6 committee hearing, raided by the FBI. I can't even name everything. We've named it many times. Russiagate, first president to be indicted by a grand jury, first president to be wiretapped. That was a thing, wiretapped by the FBI before taking office through the use of the Patriot Act. First president to be banned from social media. I mean, at what point do we say, oh, okay, that's enough? We're not even there yet. We can't even say that. All of these things leading up to this moment, and we can't even say, wait a second. From the state level, governor, don't look at the federal government, don't look at Lauren Boebert and all them. What is your state legislative body? What is your governor's office doing? You can go and check in on these gubernatorial. Yeah, we talked about Tennessee last evening on the East Coast. Is this supposed to be a red state? I don't know. You tell me. How's your red state doing, everybody, in the midst of Donald Trump being indicted? Let's check in on Tennessee. What's going on in Tennessee? Live. This isn't live. This is from yesterday, but 4.3 million views in the Tennessee state capitol.
No action, no peace. No action, no peace. No action, no peace.
What's happening in Tennessee is there's a bunch of Bebe's kids that ran up in the state capitol. They're yelling, "No justice, no peace." While New York has the person that people voted in 2016, and then that this platform I'm on, one of them, YouTube, won't allow me to speak freely. YouTube, YouTube, do I have permission? Give me 5 seconds to speak freely about what happened in 2020. Can I do that? No, they wouldn't even do that. They wouldn't even give me 5 seconds to speak freely about my opinions on 2020. And you look at Tennessee, check in live, not live, I'm joking here, but let's check in. Donald Trump is indicted by a New York grand jury. Let's look at Tennessee, where they're at, where are they at, where's their energy right now? They're getting shouted down by Bebe's kids. We got problems. We got big problems. Let's check in at Texas. Texas is the Lone Star state. If there's any state in the union that should have the right energy of where we are right now, it's Texas. Let's check in Texas, the Texas Capitol building. What's going on, Texas? I'm sure there's people at the Capitol building running up to say, hey, state legislators, we don't like what's happening. This isn't about Donald Trump. This is about, we've got to put our foot down. Forget about Donald Trump. You've got J6ers politically persecuted. This is going onwards multiple years now, and they're still hunting them down like dogs. People who didn't even go into the building, have no criminal record. They're celebrating 700 to 1,200 more hemmed up, politically persecuted. While we know these Bebe kids, they get bailed out by these NGOs. They keep the bail money. They aren't prosecuting on an even playing field. Let's check into Austin, Texas, the Capitol building. What are y'all up to? Just bend over, y'all. I'm just joking, but you know, it honestly just came to mind. It's just like, I'm not gonna repeat the quote, but was it what's his name? The old Indiana head coach, Bill Knight. Was it Bill Knight? Bill Knight had a savage quote. Do you remember that savage quote? I'm not gonna repeat it because it's so savage. He said, I don't agree with this. I'm just being honest with y'all and just saying what came to my mind, a thought that came to my mind. Like David Packman had a tweet that came to his mind, and I think he wishes that he didn't tweet it. And this thought came to my mind. I'm taking this thought out of my mind and removing it because we can build anew. But in watching this, checking in on how's Texas doing after we found out that this wasn't after it, but anything happened yet? I haven't heard anything out of Texas. It's not like we didn't know this moment could have happened and it was going to happen. Checking in Texas, the Lone Star state, the state that has probably some of the most rebellious nature in them, the state that actually wanted to bring it up to a vote with the Republican convention on secession, where Lieutenant Colonel Allen West ran for governor. The state of Texas, where are they at? I'm thinking about that. Was it Bobby Knight? Not Bill Knight. Bobby Knight. If it's inevitable, why not enjoy it? If Democrat, let me take his quote and put it here. If Democrat rule and destruction of your country is inevitable, why not lay back and enjoy it? That's the thought that went through my head as I'm watching a drag performance in Austin, Texas, as President Trump is indicted. You don't see how it's connected, how it matters, how you don't have the right energy. If this is where the energy's at, then you might as well go lay back, enjoy it, turn off the live stream. Don't listen to this live. Go find a drag story hour to enjoy with your children, and embrace the they them babies. There's a new rise, and 60 Minutes did a story on this, that there's a lot of families they're having newborns, and they're saying, well, the newborn gets to choose their gender. They're they them babies. Can you imagine DeSantis? DeSantis' energy isn't even close to this. But could you imagine DeSantis giving the phone call to Greg Abbott, which should have been happening, but we're not even there. Could you imagine? This is how it would go. DeSantis would go up to Greg Abbott, would call up Greg Abbott being like, hey, we don't know what's going to happen. There's rumors. I don't know if Pappy Don is lying or not or whatever. They know what's going on. But I don't know if Grandpappy's lying or not, but New York's trying to do some flex, some old crazy stuff. Greg Abbott, let's talk, like, what are we doing? Where is your state legislator body at? Where is your populace at? Do we need to remember they didn't take Texas v. Pennsylvania? That was a red flag to look into 2020 and the ticketing. It was the most perfect process ever, of course. And they didn't look into it when we had questions. We had beef. That was beef between states. State versus state had beef. Right now, I've got beef with how this whole thing is going down. We haven't seen the details of the indictment, but it doesn't look right. He's running for president. This is unprecedented. Never had it happen in history. All we know for sure is a misdemeanor. That's what we know for sure. Greg Abbott, what's your thoughts on that? How are you feeling? What's going on in Texas? Greg, I can't hear you. Greg, what's that? I can imagine Ron DeSantis say, Greg, I can't hear you. What's that music playing in the background? This is like 1776 type stuff. This is like 1860. This is, Greg, Greg, turn down the music. What is that? Greg, is that Whitney Houston? What's going on? Where's your energy at right now? Greg, what's happening? Greg, I can't hear you. Greg, are you throwing a party? It sounds like a dance hall version of. It sounds like a dance version of Whitney Houston. Greg, is that a drag queen story time going on in your office? What's happening? Where are you right now? I think it's probably not a good time to talk about national divorce. It's just not the time. I can imagine that's exactly how it'd go. Who's the governor of Tennessee? I don't even know. Can you imagine calling up the governor of Tennessee and saying, hey, and trying to do a three-way? Could you imagine trying to do a three-way call with the governor of Tennessee, whoever that is? I'm ignorant. I don't even know who the governor of Tennessee is. I don't know if it's even a red governor. These states are all blue states. There are no red states. Don't tell me about any red states. Could you imagine calling up the governor of Tennessee and saying, man, this is crazy. We're hearing that the indictment's going to go down. Somebody tell me who the governor of Tennessee is. This indictment's going to go down, and we got to get together, man. We got to figure out what's going on. I don't know if we need to just declare ourselves through the legislative process of our states like a safe haven for Grandpappy Don. I don't care what you think about him. Obviously, this is a problem. What's going on, Governor of Tennessee? What's going on? What's happening? What's all that yelling and screaming in the background? What's all that yelling and screaming in the background, Governor of Tennessee? I can't hear you. Oh, what's that? There's like an 18-year-old bald-headed baby kid outside. Are you guys having problems with a couple of baby's kids right now? What's going on? Do we need to send babysitters to your state? Yeah, what's going on? There's like a few hundred indoctrinated. It sounds like yelling. If I didn't know better, it would sound like 100 indoctrinated 14-year-olds have taken over your state. I don't know. Where are the adults? Are your officers having problem with a bunch of 14-year-olds that ran up in your building? Maybe it's not a good time. Should I call back? Do I need to send a bunch of fathers from the 90s with belts on to handle this? Maybe I'll call back later. Maybe now's not a good time. I don't know. We'll figure it out later. Call me back. You ever call somebody and they, in the middle of stuff, you hear the kids in the background, you're like, just, it's okay. Call me back. I know you got a lot going on. You got a lot going on right now. Just call me back. I'll call up Greg Abbott. and then you call up Greg Abbott and they're singing Whitney Houston in the background. You can't take away my dignity. I'm like, damn, they can't sing. Is that a dude dressed up as a man? What's going on? Is that in your state capital? We got business to attend to. What's going on? You call up every red state in the union. Every red state's got Whitney Houston in the background. You call up a different red state. They got what's that? Lady Gaga in the background. What are y'all doing in the middle of the day? That's we got fundamental things to kind of before we even talk about Trump. I think we got to handle the Lady Gaga in the middle of the afternoon. We've got a bunch of purple and blue haired transformer activists who want to take away your 2A, your 1A, every Bill of Rights in the name of God knows what identity next. I guess you might want to handle that first. I don't know. Yeah, we might want to take care of that first. And that's where we are. Thanks for joining the live. And that's kind of where the tenor of the country needs to be. The country's in a free fall. We don't know what a man or a woman is. So, of course, you can indict a former president based on a misdemeanor bookkeeping charge that doesn't even look like it has merit. Like the misdemeanor charge doesn't look like it has merit. Could you imagine if Florida tried to do a misdemeanor charge on Hillary Clinton for some misdemeanor bookkeeping charge? They would burn the country. They would burn the whole thing down, literally. They would start Black Lives Matter too. It would be Trans Lives Matter. And the whole thing, they just scorched earth. Just everything. Scorched earth. There would be no place to hide if Florida tried to indict Hillary Clinton on a misdemeanor bookkeeping charge. That's what would happen. And then I go online and I chat with people and I say, Ron DeSantis' statement sounded like weasel words. Is he going to be a safe haven state or not? And then people reply with Article 4. And I'm like, okay, you do realize that they violate the Constitution damn near every day. Number one. Number two, you realize that everything's up for interpretation, including the Second Amendment, which is very crystal clear. That's obviously up for interpretation. You can't put Article 4 up into interpretation. I can't say, nah, this doesn't look right to me. I'm not even calling for, I'm obviously not calling for any violence or anything like that. I'm calling for a challenging in the court system. The country was founded on 18-year-olds saying F you to the biggest military in the world at the time. And I'm just saying challenge it in the court and people come at me like I'm crazy. I think that's reasonable to say, well, let's challenge it in the court. I'm being timid, like, I don't know, maybe we can take it to a court and say, doesn't this look odd? And the 18-year-olds back then, they were like, we ready. We've been ready. Eric July had an amazing rant. An amazing rant. You might have heard it if you're an Eric July fan. One of my favorite recent. He has so many classic videos. This is one of my favorite recent Eric July rants. And this rant came from, it's kind of funny because he's, thankfully for his success. I don't have my Isom comic book because we've been reading it at night, and I haven't brought it down here to put up as my virtue signal. But uh, this started from the success of Isom basically, and he's got to write a pretty hefty check, and he's already done that thing to the government. So it is kind of funny how it came up. So the rant, keep that in mind when you listen to the rant. I'm just going to play it at the end piece of it. So he's talking about taxation. And I want to make sure it's crystal clear. I'm not talking about any violence. I've never talked about violence. I am a peaceful person. But what the point of this is to show back then why is this country great? It was great because of how it was founded. And then now we've let it decay. But how it was great was that there were people who had courage and put things above their lives. They put their beliefs above their lives over what, even back then, much less what we're seeing now, over a raise on taxes.
Shut up. Shut up. Don't invoke that shit. Stop throwing around fucking 1776. Shut the fuck up to you two chicken shit. Hell, I ain't even one of these guys that herald the founders. I'm more ideologically aligned with them as far as how they saw government than your chicken shit ass.
So you see where what he's talking about. Eric July is not talking about violence either. What he's saying is the founding of this country was based on courage. They took it to an extreme, and I say Article 4 can be challenged in the court. It's a beef between states. I know Trump is, I'm going to get to that. Trump says he's going to turn himself in. I will get to that. But this could come into, people are saying, well, it's not an extradition thing. What I'm saying is Ron DeSantis should make it an extradition issue. You're not understanding me. I'm saying it should be an extradition issue. The J6 issue should be the same thing. J6ers politically persecuted. Not one red state said, you know what? I don't like how this whole thing's going down. You haven't even released the video footage to the public. Texas, instead of having a drag queen singing at the Texas Capitol, let's make Texas a safe haven state for J6 people under persecution. Meaning, you want to come up and get J6ers, ain't happening in Texas. This is a safe haven state now. No different than the Dems do with unconstitutionally, with illegal immigration. We're a safe haven state for illegal immigration. And you want to talk to me about interpreting Article 4. California said, we're not recognizing your laws if your child wants to go from Johnny to Julie, we're not recognizing the state that they left from. How's that for extradition? Democrats come out, they say it with their chest. They're like, we don't care. We don't give a damn. They say it with their chest. 2A, what? 2A means what? It means whatever the hell we want it to mean. And I say, well, maybe we should challenge Article 4 in the courts, and then everybody's, no, we can't do that. Don't have the right energy.
Anti-secession. What the fuck do you think that was? What do you think that was an act of?
We're talking about, and I say, I take it to secession. We're well beyond. We're not in position to make it happen, but we're at that point where it should be a common topic of discussion.
Refreshing this. This is always a good conversation because I think a lot of people that were late to the party about the political shit or the governmental shit get to learn something, because unfortunately there's still even some people that call themselves conservatives walking around advocating that people be taxed to fucking death.
Remember, this is about taxation. Take this to, I started with Michael Moore. He eloquently described what Donald Trump was in a way. It wasn't 100% that, but it was very well stated. So that was the first, figurative shot on the bow by common people saying, you know what? You remember that scene that's going viral now where they're at the debate and they're like, who doesn't pledge to support the Republican nominee? And one person raised their hands. It was Donald Trump. He raised his hand to say, I'm not necessarily supporting any of these dudes if they win the Republican nominee. He's like, and then he looks around like, well, y'all, I know y'all aren't going to support me. Why are you lying? He was a separate party, and this is the retaliation. This was the deplorables. You are a deplorable if you don't denounce Donald Trump. And this isn't an attack, figurative. This is because you can't go after millions of citizens at this point until they do a social credit score. You can't really do it. So this is going after the guy that millions of people supported. To me, way above the taxation issue.
Which is hilarious because they talk about my roads and all this shit, and I'm like, in the same vein, these motherfuckers go around screaming about 1776, and I'm like, do you not understand what popped off the fucking war? Like, and I'm not even joking. Do you not understand what it took? What specifically was the last straw as to why they went to war? To find the country. It's the thing that you advocating that be levied on other people.
Facts.
Right? So, and it was only like 3%. That's all it took. 3 fucking percent. That's it. And motherfuckers was ready to kill over that, man. That's it. A 3% fucking tax. And they said they were flipping fucking tables, man. And they was like, all right, that's enough's enough. we will kill you motherfuckers. Like that's all it took.
True.
Now you got people's income being taxed on the upward of fucking 40%. If you talking about like people that are paying their state governments as well.
This is all true.
They went to war for a lot of fucking, a lot less. You know what I'm saying? But people, it's more of a optics thing. You know what I mean? It's fun to, I guess,
talk about
walk
it
around, right? But you can't say it's 2 things. You can't be screaming about 1776 and my founders being pro fucking taxation in the way that you are. You also can't scream that shit and be anti-secession. What the fuck do you think that was? What do you think that was an act of? Secession. It's in the fucking Declaration of Independence. Don't take my word for it. Read the motherfucker. And I ain't even one of these guys that throw around the founders as like these just awesome fucking great fucking people. Y'all do that shit. So I'm asking for you, as the people that love the fucking founders so goddamn much, read the fucking Declaration of Independence. And it specifically states that it is the right of the people.
I don't know why Eric doesn't embrace them more. I would ask him that because at their core, they were libertarian-ish at least. They were very libertarian at their core.
To alter or abolish, like it literally says that abolish the fucking government. That's not an opinion. That is a factual fucking statement. But in the event somebody say something, hey man, it's time to break this motherfucker up. Oh, clutch my pearls, boomer con. Oh, we can't do that. We just need to return to my constitution. They start clutching fucking pearls, man. When you get to talk like, all right, well, cool. If that's your approach, shut the fuck up about the founders. Because you too chicken shit to even bring up their name. They went to war for a fucking lot less, and they wasn't afraid to break this motherfucker up. So shut the fuck up about the founders if you're going to be chicken shit and start clutching pearls in the event that someone say, let's break up this motherfucker.
Amen. Let's hear. Tell them.
Shut up. Shut up. Don't invoke that shit. Stop throwing around fucking 1776. Shut the fuck up. You too chicken shit. Hell, I ain't even one of these guys that herald the founders. I'm more ideologically aligned with them as far as how they saw government to your chicken shit ass. Because you scared of secession. And you don't want less taxation. You scared of secession. Your founders went to war. Motherfucker, you are being pimped right now. And these Republicans all in on it. And motherfuckers are being taxed on upward of like 40 fucking percent, man.
Again, I'm taking his tax and replacing the attack on Western culture. Forget about politics. Forget about Trump, the political persecutions, all that. Just the attack on Western culture. We've got people in Congress saying we attaching themselves to Eastern philosophy or some other culture other than Western culture. And nobody has any type of energy for any of this.
And you talking about 1776? Man, these motherfuckers would have been kicking motherfuckers' teeth in long time ago. What you talking about? Talking about some 1776. They would have been kicking people's teeth in, shooting them up, putting bullets in assholes, bro. They would have been doing all of that shit long ago, bro. We on the motherfuckers is getting their shit stolen by the upper they talking about my roads. On the upper, 30 to 40% of their income is gone. Fucking gone. And y'all talking about 1776 my Constitution and all this.
Stop all that nonsense. This is what happened just days after 6 Christians. Forget about Trump. Forget about Jace. Days after 6 Christians were unlived by a transformer female, or I believe it's really a transformer male is what it should be. That's how confusing it is. Including 3 children. This is what the White House press secretary said in 6 seconds. This is where their mind is at. This is where their energy is at.
Our hearts go out to the trans community as they are under attack right now. Our hearts go out to the trans community as they are under attack right now.
And we don't have the energy to challenge Article 4. And this is what it looks like when I say challenge Article 4. Let me show you from Respected. This is Respected. I have respect for Ron Coleman, respected lawyer, but that's why you need perspective from different people. You don't go to experts for everything. Ron Coleman is an expert and he needs perspective. I need his perspective. He needs my perspective. Ron DeSantis' statement was awful. Here's Ron DeSantis. He tweeted through his office, the weaponization of the legal system to advance a political agenda turns the rule of law on its head. Great, at least you said something, but those are just words. I'm waiting to see what the actions are. But that's good. At least you said some words. This is un-American. The Soros-backed Manhattan district attorney has constantly bent the law to downgrade felonies and to excuse criminal misconduct. Yet now he is stretching the law to target a political opponent. Florida will not assist in an extradition request given the questionable circumstances at issue with this Soros-backed Manhattan prosecutor and his political agenda. Those are weasel words. I am not against Ron DeSantis. I might be trending that way. We'll see. I'm not against him, though. Don't hate Ron DeSantis. We'll see where that goes, though. These weasel words in this time of importance, that doesn't fly with me. There's a lot of weasel stuff here, and we can start the weaseling down here. Florida will not assist. What? So what Democrats told everybody in the country is, I guess I have to translate it because people don't understand, to me, not talking about you in the chat, but people that I've been seeing talk about this. Democrats said through New York is the true capital heart of blue country. That's the true capital of the country is New York. DC would be one of the top ones too. I don't know, maybe San Francisco up there too, but New York is number one. Financial, that's where the money's at. DC is just a figurative place where they go and meet. New York is the capital, the Dem safe haven. It is the lion's den even more than DC is. So if you're thinking about going down to New York to protest, I think you're mistaken. It's not a good idea, but you go do you. So New York basically told Florida and the rest of the country, we're going to run up and take your boy. We're going to drag your boy. If he doesn't come in and volunteer, we're going to drag your boy up out of your crib, out of your home. His residence is Mar-a-Lago, Florida. New York is basically saying, we will run up in your crib and grab that orange gangster right up out of there if he doesn't come and surrender himself. That's what they said. They said, you stay the hell out of our way. We dragging him up out of here for fingerprints, mug shots, and who knows if they're going to try to do handcuffs too. So we can make fun of them, do all that. And you know a jury in New York would convict Donald Trump of any crime. You could make up a crime and they would convict him. So they're going to drag him up out of Florida. And the response of the head of the household that people told me he was an alpha. The response is, we will not assist. Could you imagine somebody saying, we're going to run up in your crib. We're going to drag your homie up out of that crib. Whether, Trump and DeSantis are good in terms or not, we're going to grab this guy out of your crib. He's a citizen in your crib. He lives in your crib. We're going to run up in your crib. We're going to grab his ass up out of that crib and take him to New York for fingerprints and handcuffs off a misdemeanor. And they're going to have to tie in other crimes to it because I am not an expert, but people are saying that the statute of limitations ran out. I don't think they care about that. I mean, they're doing whatever they want to do at this point. We're going to drag him up out of there. And Ron DeSantis as the man, the alpha, the head of the alpha lion. So another tribe lion is going to run up in the den or the pride of the other lion, take one of the head lions out of there and go persecute him politically. And the alpha lion is going to be like, I will not assist. It's a terrible statement. It's embarrassing. It's the end of his, well, I don't know. I'm not going to make any proclamations, but it should be the end of his political aspirations beyond Florida. Not just 2024, 2028 ongoing. That's your reply. They say we're going to take that. They're basically saying, Ron DeSantis, we know you're the head of the household, but you're a ban. A ban is a bitch ass nigga. So we're going to grab your homie out of your crib and take him in. And Ron DeSantis, being the alpha male, says, we will not assist. And you don't see the problem with that statement? You don't see how bitch made that statement is? We will not assist. What the hell does that mean? That's weasel words from a lawyer. That's a lawyer weasel words. We will not assist. Okay, what does that mean? That means you can grab his ass up out of here. We just won't. What do you mean? We just won't help you drag his ass out? You have to drag his fat ass out of here? Then they said with an extradition request. There is no extradition request. So more weasel words from Ron DeSantis. What Ron DeSantis should have said is, this will be an extradition issue, trust me, if Trump wants to. I don't own Trump. If Trump wants to take, and you see how that would even help if Ron DeSantis was an authentic politician. You see how that would help him be the alpha. Trump, if you want to be a bitch and go up and get your handcuffs and do your fingerprints, if you want to go do that bitch ass shit, you can, but I'm telling you, you don't have to. That makes DeSantis look like the daddy. So I joke around, I call him grandpappy. That makes DeSantis the pappy over grandpappy. That makes him the great grandpappy. But he's younger, so he's the alpha. That would make DeSantis the alpha if he said, Trump, if Trump wanted to be a bitch and go take his handcuffs in and go do his fingerprints and take the mugshot and look like a bitch in front of New York, he can go do that. But I'm the alpha. I'm saying this is an extradition issue. If Trump wants to stay in Mar-a-Lago, enjoy his dinners, he can. He ain't got to go nowhere. That's the statement. We're drawing the line, the Rubicon. We've crossed the Rubicon. The line has been drawn. Boundaries have been crossed. He didn't have to go nowhere. That's where we're at. So I say that. So I replied to this. I replied to this in the most generous of ways. Like, I was very generous. I said, I'm unclear on what this means. I know what it means. I just want to leave room to be wrong. I haven't been proven wrong yet, to my liking. I'm unclear on what this means. Does this mean Florida will be a safe haven? It feels like weasel words. Ron Coleman, highly respected lawyer. I respect a lot about Ron. There's no beef with Ron. This is the conversation we need to have as a country. Ron says it means that Florida will not cooperate in the extradition request. Ron, why are you talking to me? Like, what does that mean, bro? I want you to talk to me like this is a dude, man. What does that mean? Like, does that mean that they can roll up in Florida, take him out? Does it mean like Mar-a-Lago, where the feds rolled up in his crib and DeSantis said, I didn't know? You believe that, Ron, that he didn't know? That was the first big red flag around DeSantis for me. Ron, you're not explaining. What does that mean he will not cooperate? Somebody's going to knock down the door of your house, come in, take a dude that's in your house and take him out and then take him to another house where he's going to be politically persecuted, and your answer is he will not cooperate? No, Ron, that doesn't explain anything. You're using lawyer weasel words. I said Dems come out and they say it with their chest. They say we're a safe haven for unconstitutionally supporting illegal immigration. What you going to do about it? You ain't do a damn thing about it. Nobody's done a damn thing about it. Republicans' reply is, or whatever DeSantis is, says, I will not assist. I'm like, Ron, I don't know what that means. Why can't he just say we're a safe haven? Trump ain't going nowhere if he wants to stay. I know that there's complications that could arise from that, but DeSantis doesn't have to worry about Trump's complications. He doesn't have to worry about if Trump even wants to stay in Florida. That makes him the alpha. It's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to say. Trump can do whatever he wants to do, but if he wants to stay in Florida, we good. And I challenge all red states, as soon as drag time, story time that's happening in your office, Greg Abbott, as soon as that's over, maybe you could follow my lead too. That's what DeSantis could say. So do you see why I played the Eric July clip? I'm not calling for violence. I'm just saying, like, let's stand for something at this point. They went to the extreme. I'm fully fine with the extreme as a self-defense. If I want to get a divorce and then you want to go to some violent extreme as a defense measure, then that is what it is. But I'm not looking for any type of proactive issues. I just want to leave this marriage. But in this conversation, I didn't even go there yet. So Ron says, ultimately because he has to follow the law. So Ron, I guess you don't believe in the founding of the country. When the British did what were they called? The Intolerable Acts or something like that after the Tea Party, Ron Coleman would have been like, no, don't do that, guys. You got to follow the law. I never even said break the law. I said challenge the law. Ron, you're a lawyer. That's what the law is there for, is to be challenged. That's literally your whole profession, is people challenging interpretation of law. That's your profession, and you come to me and say, ultimately, you have to follow the law. Do you think they're following the law, Ron? I'm asking to have an interpret. And what we're talking about is the Article 4. Article 4 of the Constitution basically says that there's extradition. I'm not an expert. You know, you have to get lawyers involved on how to. It needs to be challenged. I mean, that's not a debate. That's not up for debate. It's the interstate extradition clause because everybody, founding fathers knew we've got this relationship. How are we going to handle it if one state wants to do something? Thomas Frampton tweets, when someone is indicted in one state, the demanding state, in this case, it's not this. We haven't gotten to this point yet. I'm saying DeSantis should get to this point. The demanding state, New York, but they're in the asylum state, Florida. The asylum state must deliver up the person. That's in Article 4, Section 2 of the Constitution, and also this federal law passed in 1793. And there's the clause, interstate extradition, a person charged in any state with treason, felony, or other crime who shall flee from justice and be found in another state shall, on demand of the executive authority of the state from which he fled, be delivered up to be removed to the state having jurisdiction of the crime. And what I'm saying is that should be challenged. Well, we are in unprecedented territory when the demanding state is going after a person running for office. We've got an interpretation. We are too far off in the interpretation. We don't think that he's fleeing from any type of justice. We need the Supreme Court to get involved and say this is not some absolute. This ain't an absolute. We don't agree in this instance. So go ahead and interpret it. That's what I'm saying. That's why you have a job, Ron. That's your whole job. Because ultimately he has to follow the law. What? That's your reply? You have to follow the law? All right, why can't we interpret the law? The conversation, believe it or not, went on after that, and for some reason, the tweets just disappeared. It's funny how that works. They don't even show like the show me the tweets, they all disappeared. There's replies. You can see we went back and forth multiple times, 7 replies after this, all respectful. I have no beef with Ron. We went back and forth, not Ron, I think, and other people went back, 7 replies, click on the tweet. I don't see them. How's that Elon Musk Twitter going? Let me get the vibe from the chat. And I'm just picking a rant. I didn't even read this before picking it. Nathaniel Erskine, thank you for the comments. Says, I hope Trump makes them come and get him if they want him so bad. Unfortunately, that's not what and let's go to that topic. I'm just equally as upset with Donald Trump's take on this as I am with Ron DeSantis. Donald Trump has to stand for something at this point too. Not just Ron. Looking at this 13 News Now, this attorney for Donald Trump, Trump's lawyer Joseph Tacopina, says previously that if Trump was indicted, his team would follow the normal procedures. What do the normal procedures mean? That means fingerprint, it could be handcuff. If you say normal procedure, they'll have to negotiate it, because this is obviously a very unusual, very dangerous situation where you have now who are the Secret Service in allegiance to? I have to look that up. We're in unprecedented territory. But Trump's lawyer said that if Trump was indicted, his team would follow the normal procedures. That means he's going to get a mugshot. So he's not going to do that, Nathaniel, and he should be criticized for that. This means the former president would likely surrender at Bragg's office. For what? What is he surrendering for? While defendants accuse, and this poses problems because what is he going to do? Stay in Florida forever? You would have to create a group of states that we're saying we're all safe haven states. If DeSantis did it, these other people are all followers, Greg Abbott's, and they're just blue states, but they have to pretend to be red. I think they would follow the lead, but Trump couldn't travel to any blue state if this happened. This is very serious stuff. A blue state would just get him. And then there's federal agents inside. There's Capitol Police. There's federal agents in Florida. Believe it or not, the Capitol Police has the Capitol Police. The police that were just supposed to be there for the Capitol, they have field offices. They're immune to FOIA requests, by the way. They are they're an army. The Capitol Police are an army. They're in Florida. They have the headquarters. They have a base or whatever they call it. I call it a base in Florida. Obviously, there's federal agents in Florida as well. So you're one step away from DeSantis also having to say, federal agents, if you even look at Mar-a-Lago, I'm going to have you get the hell up out of this state. That's where it would go quickly to that process. But if Trump says that he's not going anywhere, then that would be different. But you're going to see a perp walk. It might look different. It might be the Secret Service walking him. I don't know what it is. There'll be cameras. He's going to have to go physically to the office unless they negotiate something else. I don't know. Anything's possible, but that's what is being reported here, Nathaniel. It doesn't look good. They want this moment. And I don't know why people are saying this is a good thing. You might know how I feel about Steve Bannon. I think Steve Bannon is a G. He's the most important person in the populist movement. But I don't know. This is an old clip, I believe, but I don't know what he's thinking here. I don't agree with him.
If they indict him on this, they indict him on all of it. But if they particularly go after him, the first one's going to be the Stormy Daniels situation. I guarantee you, the primary ends right there. He's the Republican nominee, and I will guarantee you he's going to win the presidency. If this is the way they want to play, every Republican, even the guys that hate Trump, say, okay, this is now beyond out of control. If they indict him on...
So if you heard Bannon saying that he would if they indict him, he would win the presidency.
I guarantee you, the primary ends right there. He's the Republican nominee, and I will guarantee you.
That's Steve. That's your take from this. They're gonna fingerprint, mugshot the former president, on the foundation, it looks like the foundation is going to be a misdemeanor charge, and then you have to trump something up out, no pun intended, on top of that to make it big enough. And your take is he's going to win the primary? That's not a good take. What happened in the midterms? They locked the blue team in this country, along with a lot of the red. They locked people. They recommended people get locked up in their homes, and we know now that there is more than well enough information to counter that narrative. And people voted blue in a large part. There was no red wave. Why do you think Trump getting mugshotted would guarantee him the presidency? Where is that coming from? Why is that even a take? Even if it did, why is that even a take? We're not even, would you even want Trump to be president of this country right now? Why wouldn't you rather have a movement to get, like, we need to just separate? New York is a different country. I don't want Trump to be a president of New York. Go find your own president. Who would be the president of that country? Michelle Obama? I don't know. Brandon would be the honest president of that country. Do you want Trump to be the president over Michigan? Over these blue, I mean, it's hard because it's really just blue cities spread out around the country, but you want Trump to be the president over New York? Why? I don't want him to be the president over New York. We don't see the same way. We don't see things, we're not even close. I don't want him to have any authority over New York. We are just in different countries right now. You go do your own thing. And Casual Goats, thanks for making the live. Appreciate you, man. There's a great friend of the show, Casual Goats. Check out our Discord. We got all kinds of talk over there going on the Discord. I'll put a link in the channel. That's probably one of the best ways to hit me up is on the Discord, really, honestly. Because I got to keep up with email and all that other, all that kind of stuff too. But visit the Discord. I'll put a link in the channel. Casual Goats is on there. Saw Ray Studio signed up on there. Great stuff. So I'm going to take a look at his comment here. After I let me get the link to put the Discord link in the chat. I don't know why I can't get the link right now, but I'll put the link in the chat in a minute. But let me first get okay, I have the link here, and let me get the reply from Casual Goats, because this is what I'm talking about here. What is this take from these political pundits that if he gets indicted, he'll have a guarantee to his nomination? No, it doesn't. Oh, well, he was going to win the primary anyway. The primary has nothing to do with anything. Who cares about the primary? We're talking about the general election. Bannon's take was general election, he'll win. Or a lot of people are talking about general election. No, that doesn't guarantee him anything. Number one, we don't know if the ticketing process is legit. Do you trust the ticketing process? I don't. Assuming that it's true, number two, normies that don't follow this, they're going to be able to say twice impeached, J6 committee. Normies believe all this stuff. And then indicted, and then they can put all these different charges on there. Like, every time you do something, it's a charge. So it can really be one act and then 10 charges because you had 10 emails or something like that. So we got 30-something charges, or there's like 30 different incidents, and you can have the mugshot and all that. You think that helps with normies? The never Trump, like the DeSantis people are. I just showed you Ron Coleman. He's defending Ron DeSantis. I don't know that I don't say that I don't say that Ron Coleman would vote for Donald Trump. It doesn't sound like it to me. I'm not going to speak for him, but I surely wouldn't count him as voting for President Trump in a general election. None of them. From Shapiro to even, I like Matt Walsh, even him. I don't know if he's voting for Trump or not. Nobody knows. You go in that booth, it's private. And then why is that even a conversation? Like, we're not even forget about president. We're at a place where we can't return. The country cannot return. We have to build anew. And that's a process that takes a generation. And see, they have baby kids that are running up on state capitals about transformer rights and trying to repeal the Bill of Rights. Basically, they don't believe in those baby kids. They don't believe those 16 to 22-year-olds with disheveled blue hair, unkept, mindless NPC zombies. They don't believe in the Bill of Rights. So they've got a whole generation of kids that are willing to. Those kids, then I wouldn't say they're willing to get on live for it, but they doing some stuff. Until when I say that there needs to be secession, I'm saying that takes 20 years to really get the momentum of that. Until you have kids 16 to 22, 30, 30-year-olds, all the younger people willing to go up to the Capitol and say, we want to break away from the Union because we believe in this, the original interpretation of the Constitution, and in the order to save this great country, we need to separate. It's really a nice way of saying kicking out the blue people. That's really all it is. You can call it a divorce, but really all it is we just kicking you out. Because you go to a state like Illinois. Illinois is a red state with Cook County. And basically, if we get a divorce, that ain't a blue state. It just wouldn't be a blue state, I don't think. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Some of these, Georgia, for example, Georgia would have to be a red state. They would have to kick Fulton County out. It's basically it's just saying you go to an area where you don't want to be here, so go on somewhere else. We're taking the county over. That's until you have a generation of kids that have the energy for that, the same way that these 14-year-olds that they don't know how to do math, they don't know how to read. They know how to use TikTok, though. Until you have a generation that matches that same energy, but for secession, it ain't happening. So it has to start now. I don't need to talk about Trump being president. What is that? A president of what? This failed country? I mean, well, I don't want to say the country's failed, but this experiment that's now over. The experiment's over, so I don't need Trump to be president over this experiment. The experiment's done. And you saw Trump, he sounded like Merrick Garland. He sounded like Bill Gates with his voice cracking when he was talking about Christopher Wray. He can't even say a bad thing about Christopher Wray. The experiment's over. So let's start at the local levels. They can't stop the local level movements. If you have a movement in Arizona to say, we're taking over, Maricopa County is corrupt, we're taking it over, or however you want to look at that. Basically, you could say every county, we're all seceding from Arizona. The only county that's not is Maricopa County. And you figure out the logistics of that, and Maricopa County's on their own, and then they slowly fade away over years, and now it's a red county. And I only care about MAGA red, not Republican red, not McCain red. The Arizona McCainians would love it to be a McCain red state, which it basically is right now. They were all against Kerry Lake. A lot of the pro-DeSantis people are against Kerry Lake. Kerry Lake said she had a big announcement today, by the way. I don't know if that broke. Nathaniel follows up and says, I think it's wishful thinking. People keep saying that it's a slam dunk. Doesn't make sense. Are you referring to the divorce? Well, nothing's a slam dunk. I mean, the experiment's over, though. Once you come to that conclusion, can somebody refute me? I say that what's the American just in layman's terms, the American experiment was taking people of different, and I know it is a rural urban divide. This goes with the American experiment. Basically Hamilton versus Jefferson almost type stuff. It's an urban versus rural divide, not state by state. Why not have a dual model where cities become special districts and conservatives choose not to live in? That's not going to work. It's just not. You got red areas all around a small blue area. How does that work? You can't. It could work if it's completely decentralized, but they can't share a government. So maybe your idea does work, David, but we're not sharing a union of anything with a blue area and a red area. You would still have more conservative, less conservative, you still have political battles, but fundamentally you have to be closer together. But the American experiment is we take this country, it's going to be a melting pot of urban, rural. We're not going to have a king anymore, which is a radical idea. We're going to divide up the powers of the king into these different sections of government to avoid what we're having now. That's why you can see the experiment has failed. When the government has gone roughshod and just running over the Constitution and going after people for political ideology, and now we have a state-sponsored religion of blackism and transformerism, and it's all funneled into it's all under the umbrella of wokeism. It's blue, yellow, sunflower countryism. It's whatever the next is. It's pandemic-ism. It's whatever the next ism is, and you speak out against it, then you have to worry about your job, your livelihood. They said we don't want that anymore. And they said we've got it broken up into a separation of powers. All the powers that were under the monarchy are now divided up into these separate areas. And then we have state rights. We have fundamental Bill of Rights. We have state rights, local rights. But we have enough of a belief in the world that we share a union together under the federal government. The federal government is not supposed to be what it is now. It's supposed to work for the states. So you might say, oh, it's radical. It's Ron DeSantis. You're saying Ron DeSantis might have to kick the federal government out of his state. That's not radical. That's what it was supposed to be. It's like, wait, the federal government works for me, for us. We don't want you in the state anymore. This should have been talked about. We're way too late to even get to that point, but that's where it should have been. You've got to get young people. That's why the transformer movement is so powerful. Even more than the blackism movement, it targets the youth. And you get them risen up, bred into them that you are a social justice warrior and you are really controlled by the state and wokeism, but you feel like a rebel. Those kids in the Texas state capitol, those kids listening to the man dressed as a woman singing Whitney Houston, they think they're rebels. So this experiment is over, it's done, but that's not a bad thing. Don't get demoralized by that. This is a great opportunity to see what didn't work and to take it and to build with fellow states, fellow citizens, figuring out. This is a beautiful thing. I was in a Twitter space with a bunch of different people. I was just listening. I didn't participate. But there was a beautiful discussion about, damn, the leftists, the people in charge, man, they are organized. They got their funding, their money. If you can't go against that if you don't have that as well. So they're playing chess. They know what they got a plan going. They're moving that plan forward. This is an opportunity to build something new out of the foundation of what created the old flag, and maybe you create a new flag. I think you would have to create a new flag. But that's just a symbolic gesture. You create something new. Governments don't last long. They don't last forever. Times change. Marriages, people grow apart. We're not the same people we were at one point. There's nothing to be scared of. They're prosecuting people. They're going after parents. They're making you go on. They turn these digital platforms into town squares, and you can't swear in the first 7 minutes. That's like me telling my kid he can't swear. Like, you're not my daddy. You can't tell. I can swear whenever the hell I want to swear. What do you mean I can't swear in the first 7 seconds, or the video's demonetized or deranked? Like, you just take it to basic stuff like that. We're forget about Trump being president of the country. What? I'll tell you, locally, I've spent too much time looking at the federal stuff anyway. In the state, signing up my kid for I'm in Colorado, pre-kindergarten. And I didn't even know about this law that passed where the government gets in the way of your choice for where you send your kid to pre-K. It sounds like a great idea. I'm for, in theory, universal health care, but with the totalitarian, wannabe, authoritarian government we have, of course I'm not for it. So you can't choose where to send your kid for pre-K. So I'm calling up the places and say, hey, I want to sign up. What's your waiting list? A lot of them are confused about it. They were like, oh, go to the website. There's a waiting list for signing your kid up to pre-K. There's no waiting list on the websites anymore. The government decides. There's a government website, and it's under this umbrella of we want equity for everyone to be, and it sounds great. I'm not even against that. Equity where everybody gets a chance at pre-K and then the government pays some of it. But what it ends up being is you go to a government website and you put in your top 5 choices of where you want to send your kid for pre-K. And then the government tells you, we'll get to looking at your choices whenever we feel like it. We'll tell you which one we choose for you whenever we feel like it. And then you can go talk to you can talk to the preschool. That's literally what they've got in Colorado. That is too much government power. And you got to start at the state level if you don't have control over your state level, then what are you going to do? And I've been turned off by it because it's a blue state. It's really a libertarian state, but it's a blue state because of these mail-in ticketing process that we've got that they don't audit. You ask questions about auditing and you're a whatever label, a lunatic, when you ask to audit the mail-in process. So you got ballots all over the place. They don't audit it. And magically, that process never turns like populist. Populists never win under, I don't know, it's just a coincidence, I guess. I guess that's just the way it is. Populists never come out ahead in a process where you just throw ballots raining from the sky, you fill them out at home, you drop them off, and we have no auditing process to make sure that it's accurate. Could you imagine wanting to buy a TV and you can't go to Best Buy? We're talking about the education of kids, your kids, not a TV. I mean, could you imagine having to go, like you want to buy a toaster and you can't go to Amazon or whatever. You say, okay, what are your top 5 toasters that you want to buy? The government will decide for you. There's fundamental problems way underneath the cracks of the level of Donald J. Trump that are represented through him. And we've got to take control of our local areas. Go to, I don't know where it is. There's no red states. Create a true MAGA red state. Get started there. That's why what Kari Lake is doing is so important. And then you have power. You have some power. This is not a bad moment. I don't want people to be defeated by this moment. This is a great opportunity. Defeated for what? I want to be honest about it, where we are, but this isn't a defeated attitude. This is a great opportunity to bond with people from classic liberals to libertarians to wherever else and say, well, let's create something new.
Durham probe into the Russia collusion hoax.
President Trump has just been impeached on both Article 1
The
and
only president of the United States to be impeached for a second
January
time.
6th committee releasing its final 845-page report.
Former President Donald Trump has been indicted.
Remember this, nothing worth doing ever came easy. Following your convictions means you must be willing to face criticism from those who lack the same courage to do what is right. Relish the opportunity to be an outsider. Embrace that label. Being an outsider is fine. Embrace the label. Because it's the outsiders who change the world and who make a real and lasting difference. The more that a broken system tells you that you're wrong, the more certain you should be that you must keep pushing ahead.
This is a party that wants an outsider badly.
I continue to believe Mr. Trump will not be president.
You must keep pushing forward. Never, ever give up. There'll be times in your life you'll want to quit, you'll want to go home. I can't do it. I can't do it. Just never quit. You will build a future where we have the courage to chase our dreams no matter what the cynics and the doubters have to say. You will have the confidence to speak the hopes in your hearts and to express the love that stirs your souls. And you will have the faith to replace a broken establishment with a government that serves and protects the people. They're not coming after me, they're coming after you. I'm just standing in their way. And I always will stand in their way.
Great comment from Steve Johnson. To me, that is the deeper meaning of Make America Great Again. Just how each moment is brand new, the work is never done when it comes to keeping this country great. It takes continuous action. Amazing comment. Thank you, Steve Johnson, as always. That's the comment. David H., I understand the concern here, but let me address the concern. David H. says, a divorce would make the U.S. weaker militarily, though. Would we still have a military alliance in a divorce? Wouldn't a divorce just lead to an EU-style government down the road? So I want to address, first of all, I want to assess where we are now. Where we are right now, our military has never been weaker in my lifetime. We've got a weak military currently. And Matt Gaetz, I played the clip the other day. If you want to know how our military is going right now. So before you say, well, our military is going to be weakened, how's our military going right now?
That the only reason you're not reaching out to these folks is pride. Got canceled, but that's DOD insignia. That's a drag queen story hour for children. Then also at Malmstrom Air Force Base outside of Great Falls, Montana, you had a drag queen story hour for kids. At the Joint Base Langley Eustis, you put on a drag queen story hour on a Saturday for the first ever kid-friendly diversity, equity, inclusion summer festival.
David, how's our military going right now? They got drag queen story hours going on for kids on Department of Defense property. You're worried about the U.S. military getting weaker? They purged citizens that said, not citizens, but members of the military that said, I don't want that needle that you got for me. Nah, I'm good. They've been proven to be legitimate in their concerns. Whether you say whatever on either side, their concerns have been proven legitimate. And they have not been, there's a process for them to go back through. They said, you know what, we left a process for them to get back through. Matt Gaetz is like, well, they're like some of the best patriots that we've ever, in our country. You're recruiting, why don't you go get them back? He's not General Milley, but Lloyd Austin says, oh, we don't need to recruit them. We've got a process if they want to come back.
On June 2nd of 2022, we found a trend of generalized assessments rather than the individualized assessment that is required by federal law.
The department did not break the law.
So the DOD, wait, you mean the IG mandate, is wrong? You think the IG is wrong?
Mandate
he says he broke the law.
The lives of a number of
How's the military going? How's that going? That's a former Raytheon board member, by the way. The military going to be weaker? What is the military supporting? Where are they? They're in Syria. They're in the sunflower country. I don't even understand the take about how the military could be weaker. Sometimes you need to break away to be stronger. I don't even understand how you think the military could be weaker than it is now and the path that is going on now. And David says, would we still have a military alliance in a divorce? Well, that's why I said Ron DeSantis should be talking to Greg Abbott, to all the other supposed red state governors out there. I went through a list of them the other day. And absolutely, there should be some type of alliance and there should be some type of agreement. You can't do it alone. You want to have some type of agreement alliance. And that has to start with forming red states, MAGA red states, and then those MAGA red states, that's why they didn't want Kari Lake. Kari Lake's response to this would be way different than Ron DeSantis's, in my opinion. That's why it had to be fortified against Kerry Lake, because then you have Kerry Lake leading. Ron DeSantis would have to be the beta following the alpha Kerry Lake. And then that's the domino effect of, just like the Texas v. Pennsylvania lawsuit, Texas started it, then everybody else felt the pressure that they had to join in. And that's why we have 2A. It's not easy to conquer a mass land like the United States. That's why China has done it through apps like TikTok, psyops, in corrupting institutions. That's the smarter way. That's the more efficient way. China could not run up in our shores right now and take over our country if they wanted to. Even in a divorce, they couldn't do it. We're the biggest, baddest military in the world. Famously, Eric July said we had guys in flip-flops and sandals that ran us up out of their country multiple times, Vietnam and in Afghanistan. I wouldn't even worry about the military part of it. That's not even a concern. Not even a concern. And then on top of that, I'm not staying in a bad marriage because of that concern. So we need people much smarter than me to figure those details out. But my role is to push them to do that. If Ron DeSantis is who you told me he is, that's the conversation we need to be having right now. Not, I will not assist. Wouldn't a divorce just lead to an EU-style government down the road? No. This decentralization. If you divorce, that decentralized, the federal government is taking us toward an EU-style government. Remember, they want to make this country a one country, North America, they want to make it one basically EU type government. So that's the path we're on right now, is the EU government. When you break it apart, then you're going towards a decentralized government, which is more of the founding of the country. They are trying to merge the U.S. with Mexico and Canada. Yeah.
Mr. Blinken spoke about consolidating the region of North America, and we agree on that. We are also in favor of a unity of the entire American continent, like the way the first European community emerged and converted into the European Union. That's what we want.
Oh, come again? What did you say, my persona negra?
Mr. Blinken spoke about consolidating the region.
What did you say?
Mr. Blinken spoke about consolidating the region. Mr. Blinken spoke about consolidating the region of North America.
Oh, so we're going to merge with Mexico in the middle of the most brutal drug war in its history.
Things that make you say,
so you mean they're trying to put us into the same we're on the EU path now, and I started the video with a Michael Moore clip, and he, as base as he was with the Molotov cocktail analogy, figuratively speaking, using Trump as that's what he was off on the Brexit stuff because he's a deranged leftist. He's pro EU. That means that's part of the reason why he's anti-Trump. Trump takes you away from the EU stuff. MAGA is way closer to, it's not, and MAGA is an authoritarian movement, don't get it twisted, but it's way closer to libertarianism than where we are now, Republicans or Democrats. And I'm not saying this is going to be easy. We need to start the conversation. I'm not claiming this is going to be easy. I'm not saying it's not going to be dangerous. I mean, what do we need to stand for something? What would it take? At this point, I honestly don't know. At this point, I don't know what it would take for somebody to say, damn, we got to stand for something. That's why I appreciate Tucker Carlson. In my opinion, based on his texts, I think Tucker Carlson, in my opinion, despises Donald Trump for many reasons, but he's standing for something. Tucker's like, this is a moment where I want to stand up for something. And here's what it sounded like.
Complete chaos, perhaps permanently, about 3 hours ago, when a grand jury in Manhattan, one of the most liberal cities in America, a place where 80% voted for Joe Biden in the last election, decided to indict Biden's political opponent in the upcoming election, the Republican frontrunner, a man who leads by 30 points in polls, Donald Trump. And the jury did this at the urging of a man called Alvin Bragg. He's the Manhattan district attorney who has been famous so far by making the city much more dangerous by refusing to enforce laws against crimes like robbery and rape. Now, we don't know at this hour what the indictment says. We don't know specifically what the charges are, but previous news reports suggest they will emanate from an alleged payment 7 years ago, a payment that federal regulators said violated no law, but that Alvin Bragg apparently believes is a crime. Either way, the net result is Donald Trump is the first former president of the United States ever to be indicted. So no matter what happens next, we can be certain there is no coming back from this moment. There could be retaliation from red states. The governor of Florida.
There could be retaliation. Like what type of retaliation? I'm gonna probably come back to that Tucker clip there, but what type of retaliation from red states? What? We've known for months that this was a possibility. There's more coming. More indictments. This is just the starter. I showed you what they're doing in Tennessee and Texas. What retaliation do you think's coming out of this? And I said, right now, people are trying to make fun of Alvin Bragg because he's, a bigger dude. I say don't make fun of him. I say call him daddy. Call him Daddy, Big Daddy Al. We haven't done anything to stop him. What retaliation? From who? From where? Who said anything? Ron DeSantis said, I will not assist. He didn't say anything about like an ultimatum or retaliation. We should call him daddy. We haven't done anything to stop this man right here, Fat Alvin. We haven't done anything. You can make fun of his weight, but he's doing this like Ving Rhames in Pulp Fiction. If you've seen that movie, that's a scene. That's what the Democrats are doing to everyone who's against them. Everyone's getting that Ving Rhames and Pulp Fiction treatment right now. You want to talk about the red states could retaliate with what? Are they going to come out with a harsh email against drag queen story time? What are they going to retaliate with? What's the principled idea that they're going to retaliate with?
A Fox News.
I wish they would consider that. It's not something they're considering, though. They definitely need to consider some type of retaliation. And not violence, of course. I'm talking about like a political, social. We're talking about interstate commerce. There's so many different things that could be done that I don't know what. I'm talking to people who are way smarter than me, and they don't even know, like Ron Coleman acting like, oh, you got to obey the law. There's nothing else you could do. What do you mean there's nothing else you could do? There's a lot you could do. A governor of a state? The governor of the state is like a mini president. There's a ton that the governor of a state can do. Don't get it twisted. Got a free super chat. Fire Sky 15. Thank you for the $10 super chat. People are too comfortable. It needs to get a bit more uncomfortable before they start looking around and start to wonder what's going on. Great comment, and I agree with you. I don't know how much more uncomfortable you need to get, but you're right. Well, obviously we're comfortable enough. Because when it gets uncomfortable enough, people will start speaking out. People will start speaking out. There's a clip in this. This is another kind of vignette. I don't know who put this together. I should know who put these together. But in this little vignette, this prompt video, they had clips from Jason Whitlock. Jason Whitlock was on with Tucker Carlson. And you can tell Jason Whitlock, and thanks for the $10 super chat, Fire Sky, as always, appreciate you. the super chats. So hopefully we'll get to me getting some better promotion for the channel. I'm going to save that money and put it into the channel for whatever else is next. So I have to think about that. It will actually help me potentially be able to do the biggest problem with the channel, as I digress for a second, because if anybody's able to, willing to give during these tough economic times, potentially for different people, if you give the channel $1 or 50 cents, I want to be able to tell you what I plan on doing with that. Hopefully, the biggest thing with the channel is you really need to have a set time when you go, if you're going to go live. So hopefully that would help me kind of plan that out and say, okay, I can do a set time when I go live that's really Tim Pool founded on that. He really is like, I got to go live every day, same time. And that it doesn't really matter. You can use all these statistics to say when's the best time. I don't think it really matters as long as you're consistent for a long period of time. And then he did uploads at consistent times. Is probably one of the strongest things that Tim Pool, the lesson that he taught a lot of people. So your super chats help along that journey. So I appreciate you. Yeah, we're in that time. Let me go back to Tucker, and I'll come back to the Jason Whitlock thought in a second.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson's Night.
Remember, Tucker, that Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg has chosen to pursue a case that was investigated and rejected by 2 previous sets of prosecutors because, 1, the case is politically explosive, as we all know, and 2, it requires using largely untested legal theory. In fact, even Alvin Bragg himself initially decided against prosecuting Trump. The case, as Tucker was saying, is centered around a $130,000 payment to porn star Stormy Daniels, who claims she had an affair with Trump. The DA, Alvin Bragg, could not charge this case as a misdemeanor because the statute of limitations on a misdemeanor ran out back in 2018. And to charge it as a felony, the Manhattan DA had to perform what many call legal gymnastics and say it was a campaign finance violation.
So this is a good breakdown of what's happening from people who are much more in the know and knowledgeable. I've read a lot about this so I can follow it, but this is really good explanation of how hairy and pathetic this case is. It's a legal experiment. They will be studying this in the legal books for probably the rest of the time. That's how big of a case this is. Steve Johnson, thank you for the $10 super chat. He just drops the super chat and moves on, but his comments are amazing. Steve Johnson says more time is needed for citizens to make sure they're informed. Is more time needed to make sure they're informed to participate civilly? When people have to weigh putting food in their mouths versus reading, thinking critically, you know what wins? Absolutely. So that's, the economic decline, weakening dollar, all that stuff happening slowly, but inflation is real for sure. Spending money, all that. Steve Johnson is 100% right. You've got to look at putting food on the table. You don't follow this stuff. You don't care. Thanks for stopping by, Hike Martman, as usual. That's the priority, and I don't blame you. Survival is the priority. So I think that's what you're battling as well. But I think when they start saying, Joe Biden vetoed that bill that was going to say you can't take retirement funds and put them and use them based on ESG, environmental social governance, basically woke. It's just another word for woke causes. Biden said, no, we do want to use it for woke causes. Fine, if you don't, it's hard. You've got to get your money right. But if we don't take control of our local areas, they're stealing our money. The pandemic was a large transfer of wealth. The sunflower country, large transfer of wealth. FTX, large transfer of wealth. Black Lives Matter, large transfer of wealth. But money's bailing out the banks that have failed, big banks in 2008 and the banks now that have failed. This is transferring wealth, whether it's through inflation or literally taxpayers bailing them out. So you're getting the wealth transfer right now. And the two issues should be intertwined, but I can understand that's hard to look at it that way.
Going down that road, numerous legal experts have pointed out that it would be monumentally improbable to prove that Donald Trump paid Stormy Daniels in an effort to win the White House instead of, say, an effort to save his marriage, etc. Here's law professor Jonathan Turley weighing in on the indictment just a short time ago. Watch.
The concern is that if this theory is actually the basis of the indictment, then this is a rather ignoble moment in history. Donald Trump may be the first former president to be indicted, but if this is the standard, he won't be the last.
The case would rely almost solely on the testimony of former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen, who claims that Donald Trump directed him to pay Stormy Daniels the hush money on the eve of the 2016 election in exchange for keeping her quiet. But Michael Cohen is also a convicted felon who's known for stretching the truth. Cohen's former legal advisor, a man named Robert Costello.
So you can see how my transition, I'm going to take a hard left here just for a brief second, but you can go back in the channel. Kamala Harris went to, damn it, I forget, was it Mexico? I forget. I don't think it was Mexico, but she went to, she was in a foreign country and she was getting heckled by foreigners. And even after I started this channel, I said, man, we can't have, I don't agree with Kamala Harris on a lot, but I don't want foreigners to be heckling her. Now I'm like, get politically wrecked. I couldn't care less. I'm going to wreck you here myself politically. I'm going to criticize you. But back then I still had that belief of like, we're still a country, right? We can't have people making fun of Brandon. We would never, you can't call our president Brandon. That's disrespectful. You have to have respect for the office. What they're doing, all the stuff that they've done has made me, so if you want to know, well, why, how did you go from that to supporting memes that show Barack Obama eating a hot dog and in the background, Michelle Obama saying, and that's why I married him. How does that transition happen? It's because you spit in the face of normal citizens. You fortify 2020. You're out in the open about it. You tell us about it every day. You wrote a Time article about it, allegedly. And the memesters are spitting in the face back, and I'll share those memes. And I don't even know what that means. Do you guys know what that means? Why would they have a meme of Barack Obama eating a hot dog with a hot dog in his mouth, and in the background you have Michelle Obama saying, and that's why I married him? I don't know. But that's why I share those memes, because I have no F's to give to none of y'all. It's spitting right back in your face. And I know those memes hurt y'all. You get they get real sensitive about those memes. That's why they're trying to hem up this one dude in that, where's that case? Is that in the Supreme Court or something like that with the memester? That was memeing about the ticketing process. It's a message they're trying to send to all memesters, is to say, watch your back. We see you. We see y'all with your Obama hot dog memes. We don't like them. That's all it is. So that news anchor on Fox was doing a great job explaining the case. But when you look at it, Congress paid out $17 million. This is an article from 2017, November 2017 in CNN. They would never write this article now, in my opinion. Congress paid out $17 million in settlements. Here's why we know so little about that money. Two things have become painfully clear on Capitol Hill in 2017. Lawmakers and staffers say sexual harassment is rampant. And even members of Congress, they probably did this in 2017 to get that Me Too kicked off, have no idea just how widespread the problem is. The controversial, sensitive issue has taken center stage in Congress. So basically, the Office of Compliance released additional information indicating that it has paid victims more than $17 million since its creation in the 1990s. So there's little data to help shine light to this problem that they're talking about out of the Office of Compliance, the office that handles harassment complaints, and they pay this out to the victims. Who's paying that money? Gosh, those ads at the top are so annoying. Who's paying that money? What did the settlement say? Let me go fast forward to the basically the punchline here. The punchline is taxpayers. You see why Eric July is so mad. Where did the settlement money come from? Taxpayers. Once a settlement is reached, the money is not paid out of an individual lawmaker's office, but rather comes out of a special fund set up to handle this within the U.S. Treasury. Meaning you and I, American taxpayers, are footing the bill for they all got their own Stormy Daniels situation. You remember, I want to say, why do I want to say friend of the show when I talk about Madison Cawthorn? Remember, Madison Cawthorn had the videos that came out where he was like, "Yeah, they got all these adult parties." He opened it up. He said, I was invited to one of them. Who pays the hush money for all those things when they got the snow? They over there doing the Zelly snow. I'm sure they got the high quality snow too. Meaning taxpayers are footing the bill. The fund was set up by the Congressional Accountability Act. The name of the bill is a Congressional Accountability. What does the bill do? It pays hush money to all our male prostitutes, female prostitutes, all the adult fund that we have. And New York's going after Grandpappy over some old BS. They got a fund to pay hush money out. He wasn't even, officially a candidate, I believe, when it happened. They all do it. It's all common. I don't know if Hillary's residency is in New York anymore or if that was just a grift to run for Senate or whatever. It was, we know that, but I don't know where her residency is now officially. But if you didn't think that we had a two-tier justice system, basically Hillary Clinton got a fine for the same thing. The DNC was fined $105,000 and the Clinton campaign was fined $8,000, according to a letter sent by the FEC. Same type of stuff. Political candidates and groups are required to publicly disclose their spending, and they must explain the purpose of any specific expenditure more than $200. The FEC concluded that the Clinton campaign and the DNC misreported the money, that it funded the dossier. And then on top of that, what was the money that they were funding? A fake dossier going after who? Grandpappy. What's the crime? There's no grand jury, none of that, no problems. DNC just fined and we just keep it moving. No big deal. So that just shows you why when I say I think it's time to put your foot down and just say at least we got to show the Supreme Court this and see what they say. I asked Ron Coleman, I said, okay, you say it's the law. What happens if Ron DeSantis doesn't follow the law? Then what? Twitter removed the comments, or I don't know what happened to they just disappeared. At least they didn't ban me. I didn't say anything ban worthy, but at least they didn't ban me. Much love. Go touch some grass. Nathaniel Erskine, I'm going to go outside and touch some grass too. But no, I'm going to probably work out after this. So I'm not going to touch grass, but touch some weights or something. Thanks for stopping by as always. This is leftists were having a celebration. This is their time to gloat. This is a funny account. Angela, I think I do follow it. Angela Bellacamino. All she does is really post goofy videos like this, and they go viral. Give her credit. Great marketing. A 4-second video of her walking. Trump indicted celebration walk. So Trump's indicted, and she's got her little medal. No, she's got a good sense of fashion. Got the style. That's a very popular style right now. The flooding type of pants with the boots, kind of almost 90-ish. And she's very fashion oriented, and she's celebrating. Trump's indicted, and she's celebrating. Do you want to share a country with this person? That's the honest question. It's not even on some politics stuff. Just like, do you want to share a country with this person? You want to know a little bit more about Angela, what she's proud about in her bio. Actor, advocate, anti-alpha male. The greatness of this country has afforded her the ability to say that she's against alpha males. You do realize that alpha males have a role in society? You do realize when you study animals, there's alphas in the kingdom, just like there's strong women. I talk about lions a lot. Who does all the hunting? Which lion does all the hunting and gathering and all the work while the fat male lions lay down? It's the women lions. But what are the male lions there for? What are the alpha males there? When some alpha beef pops off, the women lions can't handle that. The alphas have to get involved. So I'm not proposing that, that sit on your ass lifestyle, but the alpha male has a role, and she's up here doing a little walk, like a beta walk. I mean, she's a woman, so I wouldn't call her a beta woman, but basically if you're anti-alpha male, you're pro-beta male. So she's pro beta male walking and doing her strut. You go, girl, celebrating Trump's indictment. And she's a proud anti-male liberal warrior queen. The country is so wonderful, so great, has afforded her the spoils of riches that she can be an anti-alpha male and have 226,000 followers. The market has spoken, I guess. I'm good with that. I just don't want to share a country with you. Toy Mafia representing is you. El Jefe says, lack of wisdom. Wisdom comes from God. Man, y'all have some great quotes. I need y'all to just take over the show. Let's hear that quote one more time. El Jefe says, the boss says, lack of wisdom, wisdom comes from God. Just an amazing quote. There's nothing else for me to add or to do other than to let that quote breathe. I agree. I agree completely. When we look at George Soros, we can absolutely criticize George Soros. I don't care what his religion is or what he identifies as. Don't make it about that. There was a piece that he wrote, and he responded to a journalist from the Wall Street. Well, he responded to a journalist who said, what are your thoughts on them linking you to this historic indictment of Donald Trump? He said, Steve, I wrote this piece in the Wall Street Journal. This is a piece that I have discussed before. Might be worth discussing again. If you want to understand why I've donated to reform-minded prosecutors, you should read it. So that's a very telling way to start the response. The question was, what are your thoughts on them linking you to the historic indictment of Donald Trump? The start of his response was, I have nothing to do. It wasn't, I have nothing to do with it. His response was, I've already explained myself to you guys, through the Wall Street Journal. I've already explained why I endorse this, is my interpretation of it. And then he said, Alvin Bragg, I don't know him. Who said that you knew Alvin Bragg? I didn't say you knew him. Straw manning the argument. He's straw manning the argument. Saying, I don't know. I've never talked to him. Who said that you did talk to him? We said you indirectly funded him. You're supported by him. He's one of the, you said you've donated to reform-minded prosecutors. In this case, you donated to a cause that donated to reform-minded prosecutors. I don't care if you know him or not. Never said you did. I did not contribute to his campaign. Never said you did. And notice what's not in the theory. Then at the end, he says, oh, the right-wing far-fetched conspiracy. The right would rather focus on far-fetched conspiracy theories. Notice what's not in George Soros's reply is that I don't agree with Alvin Bragg. That wasn't in the reply. So the reply tells you where he's at. The reply gives justification to criticize Soros. You don't have to agree, but that's not any type of hatred. Not on his face. But here's where I would say I do see hatred. Election News, the executive director of liberal movement Move On, released a statement, says the real Donald Trump should not run for office following his indictment. Adds that any platform that continues to amplify his voice is giving Trump aid and comfort in causing more harm. Same stuff they did after J6. So they would say that you in the chat, that I discussing this indictment in the way that we are, is giving him aid and comfort. Where does aid and comfort come from? It's the classic line, are you giving aid and comfort to the enemy? That's where that comes from. So all of a sudden, they like the Constitution. Where does that, let me show you where they're getting that verbiage from. Aid and comfort, that's specific verbiage. Of course, they like to bring up the Constitution when they can wield it as a weapon. Article 3, Section 3, Clause 1, treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them or in adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. That's where that statement is coming from Move On. she wrote with a felony indictment in New York. So basically what I'm saying is she would call us treasonous or traitors. With a felony indictment, another indictment looming in Georgia, 2 impeachments to his name. He does not belong on any ballot. So now she's just making this arbitrary decision that he doesn't belong on the ballot. After years of avoiding liability for his actions, he's finally being held accountable. This isn't a trivial matter. Defrauded voters ahead of the election. There's a whole statement here. No one is above the law. That includes Donald Trump. Of course, they don't have any statement about Robert Biden or Joe Brandon. It's only the people that they want to say is not above the law. That's what hate looks like. And again, David or anybody else who's concerned about the military or China or whatever, do you want to share a country with them? I'm more worried about them than China. Way more worried. They're right there in New York or wherever. They're probably all the worst of the worst, liberal institutions are headquartered in like New York. Yeah, and that's where it is. My take is we can no longer share a country together. Looking at the news, I want to break away just to make sure I'm not missing any live breaking news. I haven't been on Twitter. I've been live for a minute now. Let's see if we got any notification on what's happening. I'm going to see if we have anything going on ABC Live. I'm just going to check it out in the background. Let's see. Okay, I'm not hearing anything breaking right now. So let me know if there's anything breaking. Just want to make sure I don't miss anything. This is one of the biggest things going on. And I saw a couple people on Twitter, Adam Kinzinger and others. What they're trying to do is fake a somber approach to this. And which is a smart thing, not to be celebratory. Some people were celebratory. This dude, Dabrowski or whatever his name is, one of those deranged people who might be acting, but again, the acting doesn't matter if this is real or not. And I'll go see if I have that link from him. It's the weird leftist dude. And he had a video. It was a good video. It went viral. All he did was had a shaking camera and was celebrating it basically. I don't even remember his name. I only see him when his videos pop up from time to time. And I thought I had it saved. I don't have it saved, but you probably saw it. And this is their time to shine. They're living up the moment, and I fully support that. If that's where you lie, I don't. If politically, if that's where you are, I don't want to change your mind. That definitely wouldn't be me. I just want to say for both of our sakes, let's both kind of separate. But I did see some good videos too. Let me go back here to another one of the Trump videos. I said before that I stand with Donald Trump, even though I said I wouldn't vote for him. That's a different discussion. I do stand with Donald Trump. There's no question about that on this.
President Trump has just been impeached on
eagerly intending to collude, possibly.
There's plenty of evidence of collusion or conspiracy in plain sight.
And Donald Trump has been indicted.
Who will I be when trouble comes calling for me? Will I live the way I believe when I'm backed up against the wall?
Massive and unprecedented prosecutorial misconduct. If I give you one message to hold in your hearts today, it's this: never, ever give up.
Are the Republicans? Where are the decent Democrats that can see this is insanity?
In a world that's breaking, stand for a truth unchanged.
This country is the greatest country in the history of the planet.
For 7 years, our MAGA movement, the greatest in political history, there's never been anything like this, has been taking on all of the evil and sinister forces trying to destroy America's future. You know that? You know it better than most.
The person behind this is a George Soros-backed district attorney.
Due to Trump derangement syndrome and very, very big leads against both parties in the polls.
I'm somewhat supportive of Trump, but they have made me MAGA.
He campaigned on the fact that he would go after President Trump.
And they have made me ready for whatever is next, because what they are building for young people, I can't sit by and just let it happen without raising my voice.
In a world that's breaking,
we have told you loud and clear, you are not forgotten.
They know that we can defeat them. They know that we will defeat them. But they're not coming after me, they're coming after you. I'm just standing in their way, and I always will stand in their way. Thank you very much.
My favorite part of that is the Jason Whitlock part. And that kind of describes how how did I even associate with MAGA? Dilly 300 meme team, shout out to them. I forget who's all on that team, man. The memesters teaming up. They got official teams now using AI and technology, man. They are the general. Don't want to say they're the generals, but when you look at a military type of movement, I'm not an expert in military action. Are they the Navy SEALs? No, that's not I don't know. I got to think about that. But they are a special division here. The memesters. When Jason Whitlock, what a great addition to this meme is when Jason, this is me right here. Like I felt this when Jason Whitlock's like, Jason, if you don't know, Jason Whitlock is a sports guy. If all this madness wasn't happening in our country, then he would still be a sports guy. He's a sports guy at heart that talks about, he's not afraid to talk about religious and politics, but he's a religious natured sports guy, very faithful man. He's not MAGA. He's not any type of, he doesn't even know a lot about politics. He never really followed politics. I mean, amazing writer. He stays in the realm that he knows, and he's very honest. He's like, I'm not really MAGA, but I guess I'm MAGA. He's like, I'm not MAGA, but have I become MAGA? I'm not MAGA, but did they make me MAGA?
Both parties in the polls.
I'm somewhat supportive of Trump, but they have made me MAGA.
He campaigned on the fact that he would go after President Trump.
And they have made me ready for whatever is next, because what they are building for young people, I can't sit by and just let it happen without raising my voice.
I mean, that sums it up right there. I'm going to take a little turn to a very positive note. I don't know him personally. I'm just a fan of his work. I think he's excellent. I'm talking about Elijah Schaffer. I think Elijah Schaffer, I think the world of Elijah Schaffer. I think he's one of my top guys out there. He's very reasonable. I don't even know if I would call him a conservative. I don't know what to call him. He's very open-minded. But a shout out to him, his wife, family. He's a dad now. And so they're now a 3-family strong family. You can holler at ElijahSchaffer.locals.com. Everybody's happy and healthy. Got a baby. I didn't even see if it was a baby boy or girl, but that's not really important here, as long as the baby's healthy. And that's basically why I started the channel. Just like Jason Whitlock. Jason Whitlock's like, man, we getting into the kids now. And now we're into the kids. Jason Whitlock was like, I'm not MAGA, I'm not Trump, but I got to kind of pick a side here. I got to kind of figure out where I'm going to be at. But shout out to Elijah Schaffer. Congratulations to him and his family. But your life kind of, at least for me, my life kind of changed. It's like, man, I got kids to raise in this world. What am I going to do? Stand by while all this happens? I'm gonna have to show them. I'm gonna have to show them the way. I'm gonna have to show them that you can be respectful, and you can speak out. And if somebody tries to silence you, they are definitely an enemy. There's other ways you can do it. You can ridicule people as well. Like I saw this via louderwithcrowder.com. Stephen Crowder's back. Chris Pratt, he's going at people, man. This is going to be interesting to see how this plays out with Hollywood. But here's Chris Pratt. Oh, let me go. Chris.
I want to say thank you to the people in my comments who've taken the brave step to let me know how insensitive it is for me to continue with What's My Snack. Not today, not now. We don't need humor. What we need is awareness, more awareness of just how bad things are. And that awareness is not going to come with me doing What's My Snack. Today's snack is prawns.
He's clowning if you don't know, there's a lot of leftists coming after him. And my wife asked me the other day, she asked me, why are people going after Chris Pratt? I was like, there's a lot, like, this is deep. How much time you got? But that's his kind of little dig right back at them. So the reason why I played that is it's very hard when you're in Hollywood to do anything like that. So I wouldn't expect to see much from him continuing. I know Chris Pratt, is, and I covered this a while back, but in the Mario Brothers movie as Mario Brother, and people didn't like because he doesn't have an Italian. He's not an Italian. He's not great at the accent, but this is deeper than that. So it's jumping into the social culture wars is very unique if you're not following it. But I agree that he's not great for the Mario Brothers movie, but I do support him trying to fight back. People are supporting him too. This was a weird story. There's a push in CBS News. They banned, in the wake of everything that happened, they banned the word transgender from reports of the incident. And it just shows you how the tables turn when things are inconvenient, like the Constitution's inconvenient, push it, throw it out the way. When your First Amendment rights, Second Amendment, all that, when it's inconvenient, they push it out the way. And this is a microcosm of that. CBS execs bar the word transformer. I'm just going to be, I don't know if how long you're going to be able to say it on YouTube. So that's why I'm kind of making that push over to Decepticons and Autobots. This is not journalism, is the response. Top executives at CBS News have banned staffers from using the word trans, I'm paraphrasing here, transformer, when reporting on the Nashville incident. So as you can tell, if they're doing that, why wouldn't YouTube follow suit? I mean, pretty soon, unless you declare yourself a leftist, it's probably going to be now a hate word. Despite the fact that police have said that the perpetrator, that's what they were. And you guys are all the ones talking about the gender identity. They said, we're banning it. We don't want to use it in regards to this specific incident because it is inconvenient. It's very convenient to spread what happened with Paulie P and try to blame it on J6 and MAGA people. That was very convenient, and that's all you heard about it, even from politicians at the highest level. But in this case, it's very inconvenient. So let's not talk about the Transformers for a second, at least not in this incident. I saw disturbing during the protests. I believe it was in Tennessee. They were holding up 7 fingers. They were holding up 7 fingers because they felt like they were 7 victims of them. These are people that Steve Bannon, who I think highly of, but you said President Trump wants to be president. I don't want him to be president over these people. So this Tennessee protest was very telling.
I'd say there were 7 victims.
Some of them are holding up 7 fingers. As you might know, 3 children and 3 adults were unlived during the tragedy. That would be 6. Where did they get 7? They're including the deceased perpetrator.
Every death is a tragedy, y'all. It's 7 lives.
I'd say there were 7 victims.
7 fingers, 7 lives. Every death is a tragedy. I'd say that there are 7 victims, is what you heard on the video. We're at a fundamental level. We don't even need to get into anything deeper than that. That's basically, okay, let's come to the table and talk and figure this out. There's no need for us to have any type of, unhinged beef or violence. Let's figure out a path towards liberty where we don't have physical, any type of kinetic conflict, and we can continue on. Secret Service has made an announcement, and I'm covering this live. I have not seen it yet. The announcement through the Secret Service. I just want to make sure I'm covering the breaking news from this story, as I'll go for a little bit longer here. No, I don't need updates. Thank you. The Secret Service has decided how it will proceed in handling the indictment of former President Donald Trump. This is the first time in history that a president has been indicted, as you know. So the big question is, how is this going to go down? Handcuffs, perp walk, all those details. I have to look up, who does the Secret Service report through? I don't even know. Who does the Secret Service... I'm just going to look that up real quickly here. Secretary, it's Homeland Security. So they're through DHS. So they are underneath the boot of the federal government. Unless they go rogue, the people protecting Trump are against him. From a structural standpoint. I wouldn't be surprised if the actual men, and if they're women protecting him, some of them are on his side. But from a structural standpoint, that whole thing is within the same cabal that's going after him. So in reality, Trump is not protected in this case. It's very important to note. I didn't look that up before. I never knew that they came through the home. How did they come through the Homeland Security? When was the Department of Homeland Security created? Wasn't that after 9/11? So why was this, how is the Secret Service? I need to go through the history of the Secret Service. I don't know. I gotta look through that. So let's look at what's going to happen here. Do we have any information? I've not looked at this article yet, so let's take a look and see. Fox News reported the source told Fox News Digital that Bragg has requested Trump's surrender to the Manhattan District Attorney's Office by Friday, the day after the indictment. So is that today? Wow, I thought it was going to be longer than that. But I did hear that all the New York officers had to report to duty. So what's going on in New York right now? I'm not hearing anything. I'm not really hearing anything breaking on that. But back to the story. The day after, the timeline was extended due to arrangements needed to be made by Secret Service. The source told Fox News Digital Trump will most likely surrender on Tuesday. Yeah, that's the date I saw. Typically, a defendant who surrenders in a nonviolent case would surrender to a central booking location. Legal experts have explained, however, special accommodations are likely being arranged because this indictment involves a former president of the United States. The Secret Service and the New York Police Department are expected to play a large role in the process next week. DeSantis, we talked about his announcement that the state will not cooperate, his soft announcement, weak announcement. Is there anything else that we're seeing here from that? That's it? I thought there would be more details than that. So there's nothing really new there that I'm seeing that I haven't read anywhere else. I had this saved as like a breaking thing, but it doesn't look like it. I mean, this is big content, big news, so you're going to see a lot of articles with, like that. I have no beef against the conservative brief, but all that is taking a Fox News article, and you could use Chat GPT and write the rest of it. There's nothing else there to that article, and then you put ads on it to make money. But I thought there was something else here. So I guess that's it. I don't see any other really breaking news on that.
Hiring a caregiver can help your family.
So that's where it stands. It looks like Trump all roads look to Trump basically giving himself up is what it looks like, and which I think is a terrible idea. It's not easy. He would have to link up with a governor somewhere or something, but because I don't think he and DeSantis are on the same page, but it looks like he's just gonna give himself up. Even the Washington Post isn't fully behind this. Really, this headline really got my attention from the Washington Post. So I think what this is a classic version. This is an editorial piece, but this is a classic version of let's hedge our bets. We want to flex. We want to show what we can do. We might drop the charge. We might not go all the way, whatever, but we want to acknowledge this is kind of crazy. Opinion piece from the Bezos-owned Washington Post. The Trump indictment is a poor test case for prosecuting a former president. You don't need to be a legal expert to understand that. And here's the article.
This opinion piece was written by editorial board. The Trump indictment is a poor test case for prosecuting a former president. Donald Trump deserves the legal scrutiny he's getting, which has come from many corners on many counts. Yet of the long list of alleged violations, the likely charges on which a grand jury in New York State voted to indict him are perhaps the least compelling. There's cause for concern and caution ahead. Thursday's events are the result of Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg's decision early in his tenure to abandon a probe centered on the former president's business practices in favor of what had come to be known as the zombie case. The matter of a $130,000 payment made to adult film star Stormy Daniels in exchange for her silence about an affair she claims she had with Mr. Trump about a decade earlier. Mr. Trump denies the affair. Czech writer Michael Cohen, Mr. Trump's longtime lawyer and fixer, pleaded guilty to crimes related to the payment in 2018. Though the precise charges are not yet known, it's expected that prosecutors are now going after his boss for supposedly covering up his reimbursements for the favor. Falsifying records in this way is usually a misdemeanor in New York, but if it was done to cover up another crime, it can turn into a felony. The idea here is that the hush money payment constituted an improper political donation because it benefited Mr. Trump so close to the election. Pyramiding two transgressions of state rules to go after a federal candidate is legally plausible. But the strategy is also novel, and courts may regard it with skepticism. What's more, the potential campaign finance charge itself is shaky. When federal prosecutors charged former Senator John Edwards, Democrat, North Carolina, with a similar crime following his 2008 presidential run, he rebutted the accusation by arguing he was trying to disguise his faithlessness from his wife rather than from the voting public. The trial ended in acquittal on one count and a hung jury on others, at which point the Justice Department dropped the charges. Breaches of campaign finance law undermine democracy and deserve to be taken seriously. Yet the potential downsides of indicting Mr. Trump ought to be taken seriously, too. This prosecution is now bound to be the test case for any future former president, as well as, of course, proceedings against this former president in particular, of which there are plenty. Other investigations underway include Justice Department examinations.
So that's pretty crazy when you've got the Washington Post with an op-ed talking about maybe we've gone a little bit too far. hedging their best. They're fine with Trump getting hemmed up, of course, but they're basically hedging their bets. Public perception and political strategy shouldn't dissuade a district attorney, but neither should they persuade him to bring a shaky case. This prosecution needs to be airtight, otherwise it's not worth continuing. The precedent's already set. And I'm going to leave out on a winning note here. But the precedent's already set. The precedent's that you can convene a grand jury and you can get the indictment going, even if the charges don't go anywhere. You can try to damage your political opponent this way. But the memesters have the final word. I want to let the memesters have the final word. Miguelifornia is a memester I've been following over the last couple months. Part of that Dilly team. And I think they sum it up the best. Thanks, everybody, for stopping by on the live. I think this is the end. This is the way that I want to think about things at this moment. It's a good opportunity to win.
If we want America to thrive in the 21st century, then we must stop running from the competition. And instead, we must start totally winning and winning and winning again.
We're going to have a country that's unified. We're going to bring everybody together. We want it all back.
Remember when I used to say, we're going to win so much? We're going to win that the people of Missouri are going to go to your governor and they're going to say, Governor, please go see the president. We can't stand winning so much. Remember I used to say that? I used to say it, and that's what's happening. And then the governor's going to come to that beautiful historic Oval Office. He's going to say to me, Mr. President, the people of Missouri cannot stand all this winning. They don't want to win so much. They love the old way, where they had lousy job numbers, lousy economic numbers, lousy. They loved it. Please, Mr. President, please not. And I'll say, Governor, I don't care what they say in Missouri. We're going to keep winning and winning and winning and winning. Remember?
News is written, assuming anyone bothers to write it, but if it ever is written, Glenn Beck will have his own chapter as possibly the greatest synthesizer of big ideas ever to appear on camera. And a lot of people made fun of Glenn Beck over the years for that, but if you go back and watch the tape, you will find out that maybe more than any other person on television, Glenn Beck got it right. Again and again and again. So we thought tonight is the perfect opportunity to hear from him. He's the co-founder of Blaze Media. He's just written a book called The Great Reset, and he joins us now for an overview of what we're watching. Glenn Beck, thank you so much for coming on tonight. How
thank you. It's
would you
very
interpret
kind of you
this?
to say.
Well, it's true.
So let me, I've got a couple of things here for you. Let me just go through. I'm going to bring I think, a different perspective to this. We have the banking crisis. They say it's fine. It's just beginning. Yesterday, we had the Saudis and Brazil and China enter a deal to where the petrodollar is over. Brazil and China are going to trade in their own currency. That's the beginning of the end of our currency. That means a dollar collapse. That means we become Venezuela. We will have war with China. We will have war with Russia and Iran. We have the restrict bill. We have social media and our NSA and everybody else in bed with each other, silencing people. We, of course, have the raccoon dogs, which we all know is bullcrap. And now this week, we have a new gun grab that they're trying to do. Biden and his family taking money from the Chinese. What do you think this Donald Trump thing is really all about? The America that we knew, the fundamental transformation that started in 2008, is finished. We are no longer viewed as a superpower. We are now an elderly, we're Joe Biden just walking into the twilight. What this is all about, I believe, is trying to inflame this country. They've wanted violence from the right from the beginning. They can't wait it. They need it, because if we strike out, look at January 6th, the day they're letting the shaman out of prison because it was all trumped up. Thank you, Tucker Carlson, for revealing this. The day they're letting him out, they do this to Donald Trump. They want you to strike out. Why? Because then they can close the cage. I'm going to make another prediction for you, Tucker. You said I got it right. Well, everything I've been talking about since 2008, this is the time. I'm going to make a prediction. By 2025, we are going to be at war. We are going to have a new dollar, a currency that probably is coming from the central bank. We'll have a currency collapse, and we will live in a virtual police state. I know that might sound crazy to a lot of people. It's not far off. The Bill of Rights is gone. Nobody is paying attention. Where are the Republicans? Where are the decent Democrats that can see this is insanity? Donald Trump, the reason why this is going to help Donald Trump, and that's why I don't think they're doing it so he can't run. They're doing it because they want people to strike out. Please turn to God, repent, pray for our country, pray for peace. Put on the full armor of God. But here's what they miss. Donald Trump is not even a person anymore. He is a symbol. He is a symbol of the average, everyday guy that keeps getting screwed every single time. Watches other people screw up big banks, screw up their companies, and get away with it. They see people all the time doing stuff that they know if they did, they'd be in prison for 20 years. But because they're not part of the elite, they get away with it. Donald Trump has taken arrow after arrow, and that's why this is the way the average American feels tonight.
Yeah.
I hope that there's a few Democrats out there, but this guy has been taking the bullets for the average person now for years. And people on the right feel like he's the only guy that really gets what the people are feeling. And it's not gonna end well for the Democrats in the next election. It's just not. I don't know if Donald Trump is the winner or not, but I will tell you this: you're not going to stop 100 million people. This country is in shambles. And there's going to be 100 million people that will walk on broken glass and through fire to vote for someone other than this corrupt banana republic administration.